Communication Skills for Secondary Students. Presenter Shanika Wright. At the end of today's session, you will be able to understand the concepts of proper articulation and enunciation, understand how to conduct yourself in a formal business or office setting, understand how to give proper feedback. The key concepts of today's presentation are articulation, enunciation, business etiquette and protocol. What does it mean to be articulate? To be articulate means to explain clearly, being capable of speaking or writing well, to express your thoughts and ideas in a clear and coherent manner. Ways to improve your articulation skills. Keep your language simple and to the point. Think before you speak. Speak audibly. Engage your listeners and readers. Take time to respond. Make sure you are understood. Listen to your audience. Pay attention to your body language. Maintain eye contact. Respect your audience. What does it mean to enunciate? Enunciation is the act of pronouncing words correctly and clearly. Let us look at some examples of enunciation. One example is the way that words are pronounced in Jamaican Creole versus Standard English. Now, let us look at business etiquette and protocol. Business etiquette is a set of manners that is accepted or required in a profession, often upheld by custom. It is enforced by the members of an organization. Business protocol is the code that governs the expectations of social and professional behavior within a business environment. Always remember, you only have one opportunity to make a good first impression. Within 30 seconds, people judge your economic level, educational level, social position, personal achievements, and level of sophistication. Good business etiquette is critical for professional advancement. It is more than knowing how to address your colleagues. It is a way of presenting yourself in business and social situations so you will be taken seriously. Let us look at practicing business etiquette in the use of gadgets, verbal interaction, courtesy, attire, and building relationships. In a situation where gadgets are required, you should know what are the established gadget protocols in the environment you are in. Turn off or silence your phone during meetings. When you must leave it on, inform others. When conversing with someone, give them your undivided attention. Limit or eliminate texting, emailing, or speaking on your phone. Seek permission before taking photographs. In a professional setting, remove headphones. If listening to music, keep the volume down. Verbal interaction. Your first choice of verbal engagement should be in Standard English. Use simple language. Unless otherwise instructed, acknowledge co-workers by titles of Mr. or Sir or Miss or Ma'am. Seek clarification if you are uncertain about instructions or protocols. Do not engage in gossip. Stay away from sarcastic comments. Be respectful. Demonstrating courtesy in the workplace is extremely important. Here are some ways we can do so. Dress appropriately. Be punctual. Give a firm handshake. Put your phone away when in a formal setting. Show respect to all workers, regardless of their job or category. Keep your work environment clean. Maintain a sense of professionalism when outside the immediate confines of the office or when in your work uniform. As best as possible, unless otherwise instructed, keep work related engagements involving coworkers within work hours. In practicing business etiquette, attire is very important. You should know the difference in attire between business formal, business professional, business casual, and casual. Be well groomed. Pay attention to details. Be hygienic. Know the limits in terms of makeup, hairstyles, and colognes or perfumes. Stylish does not mean revealing. Building relationships is also very important in practicing business etiquette. One should always respect the chain of command, give suggestions while highlighting errors, respect the opinions of others. Do not monopolize meetings or conversations. Honor commitments made. Be a team player. Be willing to extend support and assistance outside your job description. As a part of this presentation, we will look at giving and receiving feedback. What is meant by proper feedback? Proper feedback is communicating effectively one's observations in order to improve workplace behavior and organizational efficiency. It brings to focus an individual's current level of performance and lets them know what they need to do to reach greater levels of productivity. Let us look at the effects of feedback. There is positive and negative feedback. Some positive approaches to feedback are: be specific in your commendations, provide feedback immediately, recognize effort made, give direct feedback, and provide regular feedback. This brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you. Communication skills for secondary students. Presenter Shanika Wright. At the end of today's session, you will be able to identify the process involved in proper or complete communication, identify the different communication styles, understand key concepts involved in business communication, learn the proper use of various communication tools, and demonstrate etiquette in online communication. The key concepts for today's presentation are the communication cycle, business communication, communication mediums, and virtual communication. What is the communication cycle? The communication cycle is a process that defines the relationship between a sender, receiver, message, and medium. The exchange of information or messages between a sender and a receiver through a communication channel. Steps in the communication cycle are: Step 1, sender, the person who originates the message. Step 2, encoding, the process of turning thoughts and feelings to communication. Step 3, the message, content of communication. Step 4, the receiver, the person who gets the message. Step 5, decoding, the process of evaluating communication and making it meaningful. Step 6, the feedback, the return message. Let us look a little deeper at the steps in the communication cycle. The message. The message, which is transmitted by the sender to the receiver, is the prime most factor here, which will let the sender share a common understanding, information, or message to the receiver to channelize the communication. What do you want to say? Encoding. This is the process by which the thoughts or ideas are converted into an appropriate form to be communicated. This occurs when an individual formulates or conceptualizes his or her message. How do you want to say it? Sender. The sender is the individual who is responsible for initiating the communication. He or she is also responsible for conceptualizing the ideas behind this communication or conversation. The sender sends the message to the receiver. What do you want to say? The receiver. The receiver receives, decodes, understands, interprets the message, and provides feedback if required. When the sender or senders sends a message to the receiver, it is important that the message is accurately received, as only then will the communication process be considered successful. Who will receive the message? The channel or medium. The channel or medium of communication is the means by which the message is sent. Senders decide their preferred channel of communication based on convenience, effectiveness, and the receiver's accessibility to it, among other factors. Examples include email, written letters, WhatsApp, face to face, or telephone. Decoding. Here, the receiver interprets or decodes the message. It is the process of making sense of what the receiver sent. Feedback. Feedback closes the loop in the communication cycle. It is the process by which the receiver responds to the message. The aim is to signal that the communication was received and understood. Feedback can be a verbal response, a physical response, for example, a nod or shake of the head, textual or written, or virtual, example, emojis. The importance of the process. It is essential for coordination that people understand the thoughts and ideas of one another. It facilitates smooth and efficient interaction among people in an organization. It is essential in decision making. In the absence of proper communication, no proper or efficient decision making is possible. It helps in increasing the managerial efficiency in organizations. It promotes and increases the overall organizational peace and cooperation among all employees holding different places in the hierarchy. Let us now focus on communication styles. The communication styles are the characteristic way a person sends verbal, paraverbal, and nonverbal signals in social interactions, denoting A. Who he or she is or wants or appears to be, B. How he or she tends to relate to people with whom he or she interacts, and C. In what way his or her messages should usually be interpreted. The primary communication styles are passive, aggressive, passive aggressive, and assertive. Passive. Individuals avoid expressing their opinions or feelings, protecting their rights, and identifying and meeting their needs. Passive individuals do not respond overly to hurtful or anger inducing situations. Examples of words or phrases used: "It doesn't matter how much," or "I just want everyone to get along." Aggressive. Aggressive communicators tend to dominate the conversation. They issue commands and ask questions rudely while failing to listen to others. Examples of words or phrases used: "It is my way or the highway." "I'm right and you're wrong." "Because I said so." "I'm entitled." Passive aggressive. Passive aggressive communicators seem passive on the surface, but reveals a hidden resentment that comes through in subtle, indirect ways. Examples of words or phrases used. Examples of words or phrases used: "I am responsible for my own happiness." "I respect the needs and opinions of others." "We all have the right to express ourselves respectfully and honestly." Assertive. The assertive style of communication offers an effective and healthy way to express yourself. It encourages open, honest dialogue while still considering the needs of others. Now, let us look at business communication. Business communication is the process of sharing information with stakeholders within and outside the company. It is how employees and management interact with each other and with customers to realize organizational goals and be aligned with the company values. The types of business communication are internal upward, internal downwards, internal lateral, and external. Internal upward. This is communication that comes from a subordinate to a manager or an individual up the organizational hierarchy. Common forms of internal upward communication tools are surveys, feedback forms, and reports. Internal downwards. This is communication that flows from a superior to one or more subordinates. Common forms of internal downwards communication tools are letters, memos, or verbal directives. Internal lateral. Communication that happens among employees. Common forms of internal lateral communication tools are chats, emails, message groups, or water cooler talks. External. Communication that happens with parties outside of the company, such as customers, prospects, vendors, and partners. Common forms of external communication tools are letters, emails, proposals, or verbal. Conclusion. Since each type of business communication accomplishes a unique set of goals, businesses can utilize multiple communication strategies within their organization or just the one that suits their organizational culture. Let us look at the communication mediums and proper use of each. The primary communication tools used in business can be categorized into three segments. Oral communication. Face-to-face, in-person presentations, and telephone are examples of oral communication. Written communication. Emails, memos, reports, and letters are examples of written communication. Electronic communication. Social media and company intranet are examples of electronic communication. Let us look at the proper use of each communication medium. For oral communication, some general guidelines are respect time limits. Look at your audience. Enunciate clearly. When using notes, try to familiarize yourself with the content to better maintain eye contact. Anticipate possible feedback and the response to be provided. For written communication, some general guidelines are: be mindful of the particular medium you are using and the purpose of said medium. Use spell check to correct spelling and grammar before sending. Do not ramble. Stick to the core purpose of the message. Control emotion, being mindful that published work cannot be taken back. Where accessible to the public, refrain from communicating personal details or happenings. Keep company information confidential. Do not communicate information regarding details about the company unless instructed to do so. For electronic communication, remember that you indirectly represent the company once you feature an article or use a narrative that generally represents said company. Let us look at virtual communication protocols and etiquette. Here is a guide. Dress appropriately. Be on time. Ensure your display name is your full name. Be aware of your surroundings. Mute your mic when not talking. Use raise hand feature if available. When introducing yourself, keep video on. Where you are unable to show a video, apologize. This brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you.